Welcome back to Page Farmstead. Today we're working on our newest mobile hen house. So come with me, let's finish it up, get it filled with chickens and get it out here on our pasture so we can rotate the chickens around and feed the land. So I've been working for a little bit on this new chicken tractor here. This is going to be a mobile hen house for our laying hens here. And this is the latest rendition of several different coops that we've tried here to get our chickens out onto the pasture, rotating around, but also be protected from the predators that we have here. When we first started having hens here on this property, we lost every chicken that we had for a couple of years to fox, coyote, and hawk predation. And so since then we've really had an emphasis on containing the chickens and keeping them inside of a place that we can move every day, so that they still get the benefit of being out on grass, getting the sunshine, the bugs, the fresh grass, digging in the dirt, living their best chicken lives, but also being protected from the animals that enjoy eating them. So this is our latest model, which I've tried to improve since our last one, which is great. It's very functional, but it's hard to move. It's very, very heavy. It's built very solidly and has a really nice roof, but it is very heavy and it makes it difficult to move across the sometimes bumpy land. It's not something I could ask somebody else to do or really even get my wife to do. It's something that it's kind of a workout for me every day. So it works really well. It has kept our chickens safe. It does have good nesting boxes that are easy to collect from, and good feeders, and it has automatic rain collection, waterer, and all that's really good. So I'm trying to replicate the great features about it in this one here, but also make it much lighter and easier to move. And it will have rainwater collection, watering. It has feeders that are accessible from the outside, and this one does have a roll-away nest box on the back, which is accessible from the outside of the coop. So all those I think will be really nice. The current model that we have, you have to go inside of it to feed the chickens, to get feed in the troughs, and also to collect eggs out of the nest boxes. And while that's not a big deal, it is just a little bit more of a big deal with chickens escaping and so on. It's a little bit more of a big deal than having everything accessible from the outside. Also, in the future, getting my young kids to maybe come down here and feed the chickens and collect eggs, maybe that'll be easier for me to get them to do here than having to go inside and, face off against a rooster or just be around the chickens in general. I've come pretty far along with this. It's gonna keep this tarp roof. That's the idea. I know that it might seem a little bit fragile, but I think it'll be easy to re-roof in the future, and it's exceptionally light and not particularly expensive. So I think that this is going to be a good solution. I've had a tarp just like this on our meat chicken tractors, which are just flat tractors. I've had those on for several years now, and they've held up pretty well. Those chicken tractors also have some flaws, and of course they're not really good for laying hens because they have no nest boxes, but the tarps themselves, the roofing has held up pretty well, so I'm hopeful that this will do the same. I've got a few things to finish up here. I need to fill in this this portion of the wall here with wire, and also the door, and then it'll be completed in terms of being predator proof. The last thing for me to do will be to hook up the rain collection and build some waterers for the inside. So we're going to try to get that done as well. So stay with me. I'll get the wire wrapped up. We'll work on the waterers. And before we start, I'll take you for a little tour of this thing just so you can see how it works. So starting from the back, I have two trailer jacks with the double wide wheels on them. And the idea here is that we'll be able to jack the back of this up just as high as we need to break the ground contact before dragging it across the ground. Also back here, you see the nesting box. This is a rollaway nest box, so you'll have really easy access to collect eggs. I think that'll be really nice to be able to do it from the outside. And also it helps that I was able to put this in the back and keep all the weight back here over the wheels. So going around to the side, it's the same on both sides. It's totally symmetrical. So you have the gutter for rainwater collection, strains this way down. You see I've cut for the drain, and I just need to make a couple elbows to go down into the into a bucket there and mount the bucket up for water. And then on each side a feed trough here, which folds out to the outside so that you can fill it with feed and then close it and they have access from the inside. Coming around to the front here, we have the door to get in. Going down each side of the coop is a roost bar which runs the entire length. I think I might need to reinforce this just a little bit. It is a 2x2. Chickens aren't heavy, but I think that might droop a little bit over time. And then you can see the feed troughs here from the inside. The chickens will have good access to feed. You can see here the roof is just a PVC hoop style roof, of course, with the tarp. And then back here we have the rollaway nest box for the chickens to get in and lay their beautiful eggs for us. So pretty basic. There's not a whole lot to it. Hopefully this will sit down onto the ground nice enough to keep fox and so on out of here and keep the chickens safe. All right, I'm gonna get started on putting wire in. So this part's pretty good now. I'm just gonna take some wire and tie this off to my stay here so that we have a good closure between this over the whole run. Making little loops like that and then putting them around the wire and just twisting them off to tie it together. All right, I'm gonna run hardware cloth on the door for a couple of reasons. One, it's a lot stiffer, so when you're opening and closing the door all the time, it's less likely to deform, but also it's because it's what I had. Well, I ran short there on hardware cloth, so I'm gonna have to go see what I can find to fill in that little bit that's left. Well, I was hoping I would find a piece of plywood or something that would fit in that spot just right, but I didn't have anything quite big enough, and I don't think it makes sense to go cut up a whole sheet just for that. So I'm gonna use this last little bit of chicken wire I have to fill it in, and maybe one day I'll do something better. All right, last thing is the door's gonna need a latch, so I have a latch here. Let's just throw it on. So what I like to do with this style latch is I leave one of these screws out and leave this one a little bit loose, and that way when you go inside, you open it up and you push this down, and you can't lock yourself inside. All right, so since I built it, this door has already begun to sag just a little bit in the low corner here. So I need some sort of a diagonal brace. I'm gonna use this fence wire that I have, 12 gauge fence wire, and a gripple to put some tension across the diagonal. This is definitely overkill, big time overkill, but I've got it on hand, so that's what I'm gonna use. The last thing I want to do here is put a trim piece up the side that'll cover the gap between the door and the frame. Okay, well that wraps it up for this side. So the only thing left to do really now is start working on the water system. But I need to go to the hardware store to get a few things for that, plumbing parts and buckets and so on. So I need to run out to the store and grab a few things, and it'll probably be tomorrow before I can get back on this. So I'll see you then. All right, we are back. It is the next day. And let me tell you guys, the summer heat has set in. It is warm out here. It's gonna be a sweaty day, but we're gonna start working on putting the watering system in. I did make it to the hardware store, and I've got the things that I need. So the buckets, a couple elbows for some pipe, and I'm just gonna start making some supports to set the buckets in, and then piping up the gutters to the buckets. We'll put nipples in the bottom of the buckets, and I'll show you those before I put them in, and then we'll be ready to go. Come on with me, let's finish it up. All right, so I'm here at the drain end of the gutter, and I'm gonna cut out the wire where I need to make the pass through for the pipe. So I'm gonna hold an elbow up here so that I can use that as the template. Make sure I cut wire out where I need, and then I'll be able to set the height of the bucket inside while I build a bracket. All right, now that I have this pipe in place, I'm gonna hold the bucket up and just mark how high I want it on the blocking so I can figure out where to start building the bracket. I think I'm gonna need to come in and snip these bolts off. They're longer than they need to be, and they're getting in the way. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the nipples installed on the bottom of this bucket. I'm using these vertical type gravity nipples. They're part number WC1045. And I get these from Farm Tech. These are the ones I enjoy. They just don't fail like some of the others that I've tried before. So yeah, I'm gonna go with these. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is mark the lid of this bucket for the location where this pipe will come in and feed it. I do want it to be a nice tight hole, so I'm going to cut it with a hole saw that's maybe just slightly undersized, and then ream it out to be just right. So let's get it marked and then we'll get it cut. All right, I got my mark made. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but close over here to the edge of this outer ring. So I'm just gonna scoot it up close. We'll have a little bit of wiggle room because of course this lid can rotate once it's in place to line up perfectly. So. Oh, that's a perfect tight fit. Perfect. All right, well that's in there pretty solid. I used a pipe strap just to get everything locked in place, and I did put a piece of screen up there on the top of the elbow below the gutter, just to filter out any larger trash that comes down the gutter. We'll see. Hopefully it's not too much of a pain to clean off as it gets as it gets used, but that looks good for now. I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll be wrapped up. ahead and rigged up a quick handle here, just some rope down here through the bottom of the frame up to a pipe there, and I put a couple hooks just to hold the handle in place when I'm not using it. So hopefully that'll be good enough to allow me to drag it around. And if that's good, then this project's done. All right, well, that's a wrap. So thanks a bunch for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to have gotten this done. I've been working on it for a few weeks now, and the chickens are ready to get out on pasture. So that'll be coming in a future video. We'll get this down there and we will get it full of chickens. I really appreciate you being here and sticking with me till the end, checking this out. We'll see you next time on Page Farmstead.